Hello everyone, welcome to today's episode of Let's Talk Footy featuring Toronto High Park Football Club. I'm your host Shaheen, and today I'm sitting down with three of our female coaches. Today we have Ajla, who's the active start coordinator for the club. We have Ekaterina, who's the manager of operations and the 2011 girls head coach. And we also have Liz, who's the 2007 girls head coach and assistant coach for some of our development programs. Today we're going to discuss female soccer players and female coaches. We're going to listen to these three female coaches and hear about what they have to say about some of the things we can do as a community and as a country to keep female soccer players in the game. We're going to listen to what they have to say about some of the things we can do to create a positive and supportive environment for our female soccer players and female soccer coaches. So sit back and enjoy the show. Hello, ladies. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Let's Talk Footy. It's my pleasure to have all of you. I'm so happy that you all accepted to be on the show. I would like each and every one of you to just talk a little bit about yourselves, what you do, your involvement with the club, so that our viewers can get to know you. And then we'll get the discussion started. So, Ekaterina, Ajla, Liz, any of you, please go ahead.
Ekaterina, go.
Thank you. I was just waiting for it. Yeah, so my role, I have two different roles. The first one is on operational side, manager of operations, and then another one is more fun, coaching. I'm currently head coach of 2011 girls. That's it. Should I give more details?
That's good. Ajla?
I started as an Active Start coach, just like a coach in the Active Start program, which if anyone doesn't know is our U4 to U6 program. So the youngest players of our club. Then for a small portion of time, I was also a coach alongside Ekaterina. Actually, we were both coaching together, the 2010 girls. And then now, yeah, good times. Now I'm back full time as the Active Start coordinator. So I oversee the entire Active Start program. Yeah.
Liz, how about yourself?
Hi, Shaheen. Thanks for putting this on. And thank you, girls, for coming out. Very briefly, I'm currently the 2007 girls head coach. I also assist with girls development within the club where I'm needed, usually grassroots between 8 and 12, mostly the girls. I've been coaching since 2005. Funny story that I want to share. I actually got into coaching by running into an old phys ed coach. It was a male actually, and he encouraged me to get into coaching. And I kind of thought about it, and so that's how I got in. And the reason I got in was because I wanted to give back what I've learned through the sport as well. If I can say anything, I would say I've learned everything in life with a ball at my feet, which is a Ronaldinho quote as well, which I love, which I think is very true, actually.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm glad you're actually bringing it up, because usually what I do is I ask the guests, why did you decide to become a coach? Because usually the guests are coaches. So I'm glad you brought it up, and I would love to hear from Ekaterina and Ajla why they decided to get into coaching. What was their
Well, I decided to coach because of Ajla, and Ajla decided to coach because of me. We just wanted to be partners. I'm joking. But one of the reasons, actually, I loved working with Ajla, and she helped me a lot in the very beginning. But in the very beginning, I guess I started because I always wanted. As a player, I was helping my coach, the head coach of my team, and with time, when program was growing, where I was born, in the town where I was born, I started helping with smaller kids, and that's where I realized that I really, really like it. So in Canada, I started working with younger girls. And as Ajla mentioned, some time ago, we all started with smaller kids, and then we progressively became better, and we started being responsible for older ones. So, but yeah, initially just started because really, really wanted all my life.
Nice. Awesome.
Good one, Katrina.
I think I started, besides coaching with Ekaterina, besides that, I think I started actually just to work with kids. I played soccer my whole life, but I didn't really actually have interest in necessarily coaching soccer. I just felt really strongly about working with children. And I also started in Active Start, and I guess I just never left. Because I have the biggest passion for athletes of that age. And I know we can call them athletes because I know they're small, but they're still athletes.
Yep.
So it's just my biggest passion. And although I did do some time with some older kids, as Ekaterina mentioned, her and I did it together, and I love coaching them, my true passion is to work with children, specifically kindergarten age children. And because I love soccer, it was easy to pick coaching in that age group.
That's a hard age group. Lots of energy required. I've seen you in action, and it's a lot. It does take a lot of effort and patience, but it's awesome to see them have so much fun.
Thank you, Liz. I say the same about you and Ekaterina. Like anyone over the age of 8, you guys do it.
It definitely takes a different type of personality and energy for sure. But I mean, in the end, as long as they're having fun, it's just awesome to see.
I agree. One of the reasons why I decided to have you three on the show was because I wanted to have an all-female coach edition. I wanted to give a voice to our female coaches, to talk about their experiences, talk about their opinions about the game, about coaching, about female athletes. I think we can all agree that, female athletes are not getting as much, female, at least soccer players, are not getting as much attention and support, maybe even as much as the male soccer players. So yeah. I want you all to, since you're the experts, I want you all to give me your thoughts, your opinions on that, and I'm all ears. I just want to listen, and I want to hear what you guys or what you ladies have to say about this.
I want to add to what I said earlier in regards to how I got into coaching. And to be honest with you, it's something I'm very passionate about right now. Again, I never in my dreams thought I'd be coaching, but here I am, and I love it. And to be honest, another drive or another reason I got into it was because my entire life I've always had male coaches, and I never really had a female role model to turn to or talk to. Of course, I'm really aging myself here, but when I was growing up, there was not enough girls teams, right? So the choices were limited. I either had to play with the boys or sit out. And then when I was playing with the girls, I had a male coach, and just growing up through the ranks over the years into teenage years, and finally becoming a young adult, I never had that support. I never had that female support where I can turn to talk about certain issues. And now, again, when I got into coaching, I wanted to embody that. I wanted to fill in the gaps that I experienced as a player that I did not get. And I know at the time, if I did, I think I would have been in a different place, a better, I'm not saying better place, but probably a different path. So a lot of the reasons and priorities for me when I coach is teaching these young females to become empowered and strong and be able to make decisions on the field. And I always say if they're successful on the field, they'll be successful off the field as well. And that brings a lot of responsibility, commitment, and everything. Like I said before, everything I've learned in life has come from the sport of football.
So you brought up a few good points, but the question I have now is, what do you find different in terms of having a female coach compared to a male coach? Why is that really important for our female players to have that female coach or female support? How does that help the female athletes?
I think it's as simple as having someone to look up to that is similar to you. Like, when Liz was talking, I was also thinking about just female athletes in general. And from a child development point of view, from kind of winding right back down to the littlest kids, more often than not, girls are handed a doll, boys are handed cars and sports equipment. And that's a problem. That's an issue. And it's actually an issue we as a society have brought on to our kids. and it's our fault, 100%. And you know, it doesn't help that as they move through the years, you know, the girl picks up a soccer ball and great, but then the problem is she enters a club, she enters a team, and it's a boy here, a boy there, a boy is their coach. It's also dad on the field, dad on the sideline, dad's the coach. And you know, don't get me wrong, I love when dads coach. Dads are great and boys are great, but when you feel like the oddball out, you are a lot less likely to not fall in love. You're a lot less likely to find similarities and be relatable, like find relatable qualities in other people around you, right? So that female coach, you know, she embodies everything that player wants to become. Yeah. And like I guess the worst part for me is even when I'm out there playing, I even have boys that come up and they're like, you can do that? I thought only, and I kid you not, I had a little guy just in my neighborhood. He's like, I didn't know that you could play. I didn't know that girls could play sports. And I mean, it's 2020. So like, just the problem is like, it's not just the boys that think that. It is the girls that think that too. They're, you know, they don't see a lot of girls playing like they play, and they don't see a lot of female representatives in sports. So having that female coach, I think, is one of the most fundamental parts of having them fall in love with the game. And you know,
yeah. I think with the males, having a male coach is just a different aspect, in the sense that I don't think the males are more educated on female issues, if that makes sense. You know, in terms of how the bodies are changing, and you know, certain aspects of a female that sometimes, you know, it's just like Ajla was saying, that just having that female there to turn to and have that option that she's gone through, you know, the experiences that we've gone through, they can relate to much easier.
I definitely agree with that. A couple of years ago, I had the chance to coach 16-year-old female team at my previous club, and then the following year, I had a chance to coach the same age group but the boys, and I really got to see the difference between the female team and the male team, and the way how different, how you have to use different approaches, and how certain things work and certain things don't work. And when I was coaching the female team, you know, I sometimes had to go to my girlfriend for advice to be able to understand the players, the girls, to be able to support them better. So I definitely agree. I think having a female coach can definitely be very supportive in a different way compared to a male coach.
I just wanted to add here, I feel like it works even from psychological point of view, because all people tend to like duplicate actions of people around, and this mirror cells theory, right? Like for girls, it's so important to have somebody whom they can relate to, just because if it's a woman, it suddenly makes sense. Like sometimes, and I remember when I was playing and I had a male coach, I absolutely liked him, but sometimes he would show me something, I don't feel like my body can do the same. I feel like I'm clumsy. I don't think I move the same way. I feel like my legs are too long. And then when you have a woman showing you like same activities, same exercises, fakes, moves, you're like, it makes sense, because you see that she's doing that and you're like, well, it means I can do it too. So again, for me, it's psychological. And for me also, for younger girls, it's very important to have female coaches, because they can actually trust. And this period when they enter sport, to have somebody who can just guide them in the very beginning and like show them that they can do it, to provide them with these confidence points, to just showcase them that, look, I can do it, you can do it, just give them this push. And then after it, it's again, you can have fantastic male coach, absolutely, and you will be able to open up to this person. But in the very beginning, when they're younger, I feel like for female players, it's kind of important to have, I don't know, second mom even. Like some players confess to me, they came to me and like, coach, you are in my top 3. And then their parents come to me and like, coach, you are in my kids' top 5. And I know that I'm in top 3, but I wouldn't say it. But yeah, that's a reality. We become family.
Yes, yeah, that's true. I've had last session, after our session, I was kicking the ball around And I remember I took a shot on net from about, I don't know, 30 yards out, put it in the corner, and a male parent actually came up to me and said, wow, you can really kick. And I kind of looked at him, I go, well, yeah, I've been doing this for 40 plus years.
You should have said the soccer ball is not the only thing I want to kick if you
Oh,
can kick.
yeah. Well, believe me, I've had many encounters, toxic encounters from parents. And unfortunately, it's been the dads. And it's been the dads. I've had dads come up to me and say to me, I have no right to be here. You don't even know how to kick a soccer ball. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, park yourself in front of the net and let's test this theory out. But I just walked away and shook my head. And, at that point, I wanted to give up, honestly. There's been a couple of times, and this is one of the, speed bumps that I've encountered throughout coaching as well, is having those male counterparts, whether they're other coaches or parents, tell me that I don't belong here. I don't know what the sport is about. But then again, on the flip side, I have had some pretty good support where male counterparts have approached me and said, wow, good for you, good job. That's what I want my daughter to see, that. Yeah. And have that figure, as opposed to a male that is kicking a ball. And you kind of look at, as a female, you kind of look at the boys, it's like, yeah, okay, whatever. But if you see a female do it, it's like, wow, if she can do it, I know I can. As opposed to watching boys, hey, girls, I want you to see this guy kick the ball, or coach. And it's like, I get the reaction that the girls are like, yeah, those are boys. We're not going to be able to do that, right? But again, if it comes from a female, then it's all of a sudden it sparks a little creativity and a little bit of motivation. Like, hey, if she can do it, obviously so can I.
Definitely. Do you guys think that we're doing enough to be able to create that culture, create that environment for our female coaches? What are some of the things that are missing today now?
How much time do we have?
Here.
How much time?
As much as you want.
I will comment a nicer comment. There has to be better representation up top. So arguably, representation in soccer is predominantly male. When you're talking about the top of the top, and I'm talking about any top, I'm talking about Canada Soccer, Ontario Soccer, TDs, whatever, like anything, it is heavily male. Now, that's not me saying like we need to go ahead and put a female in every spot now and fix, like that's what's going to fix it. It's not. I just mean that, we need to get to a spot where females are also going to feel confident enough to pursue those sorts of careers. And I'm not sure that they are right now. Because, there's something to be said that if someone applies to be, I don't know, the GM of Canada Soccer, if that's a position, and all the applicants are males, there's something to be said about why that is. And arguably, a lot of females haven't even moved up in the ranks in that way, and we're not moving them up in the ranks enough. So I really think, I'm a big believer that it has to come from top down, that's a really, really big foundational base that we need to have as a country, as a province, whatever, to start to make some real fundamental change in the small little pockets.
So I have a question, Ajla, and I really don't know the answer to this. That's why I'm asking. Isn't maybe one of the reasons for that because just unfortunately the number of male applicants or male people up top or in any position is just higher than the number of female. Now you're talking about we have to change that. We have to create an environment where that kind of balances it out, right? How can we do that though? What are some of the things that we can do in our level all the way to the top? Anybody?
Ekaterina, go for it.
I just wanted to say, like, there are simple methods and something that we can do. We can just support each other. It sounds simple, but it's not. So the reality is that it's actually proved by research that many females, the majority of females, don't even apply for something that they are scared of, while male applicants do. So that's just the reality. Why it's happening? lack of confidence. Why there is lack of confidence? There are many, many reasons why, and the majority of cases, people say it's tied to childhood and how females are just raised to be shy, to be soft, to be nice. Well, if boys do something mean, parents are like, oh, that's my boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And then when we grow up, what happens is that females just doubt themselves all the time. And what I would say, like right now, we're all adults here, what we can do, we can actually support each other. And I feel like in female society, it's improving. And I enjoy personally just supporting females all the time. When I work with younger female coaches, I always let them lead. Again, it's very tied to what you do for yourself. If you want to improve in something, like for example, you learn in Spanish, how you're going to improve until you start talking, until you get out of this comfort zone, nothing will change. You can learn theory, grammar, but nothing will change until you actually start talking, making mistakes, feeling stupid, but then eventually you just become more confident. Same with us being in the industry, and the same with us just helping each other to do that. So if it's younger females, until we help them to try to lead, not to shadow, but to lead small aspects and bigger, that's what matters. And we can do it right now and right here.
I think I agree with you, Ekaterina, Coach. And I think it's, I agree with some of it. And Coach Ajla, I agree with what you're saying as well. I totally get it. But I think the real issue is, and you touched on it a little bit, is hitting those females early on and finding them early on. From my experience, I went from player to coach, and it was a rough transition for me. And the only reason I made that transition was because, again, I wanted to give back. We need to grab the young players that are young in the game that, you see the potential in leadership and they want to improve, and hanging on to them and coaching them and saying, you know what, later down the road, if this is what you want to pursue, we're here for you. We'll get you there. And I think that we don't recognize immediately potential. We kind of just let it slip away. And that's how we lose coaches and females, is because, well, I'm not giving the credit to be there, or the support, so they just turn away.
I want to add on to that as well. I think, Ekaterina, you make a really good point about females and just how we're biologically, how our brains are wired. And your point to the fact that women apply less for positions that they're scared of is, I've heard that fact as well. It's 100% true. Now, what are we doing to get over that? So a basic thing we can do is headhunt. We all know what headhunting is. You go out, you find someone, and you say to them, I want you for this. Why aren't we doing that more? It's frustrating to me. It's frustrating to me that we're getting mad at females. We're getting mad at, you got to apply, you got to do more of this, you got to do more of this. And I will, but I need also the other side to come to me and value me and show me that I'm valuable, right? To give me a ledge to stand on, and I think that would go a long way. So to say, listen, to put out an application and say anyone can apply, and then pat yourself on the back and being like, I'm doing enough. It's not enough.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
My experience in terms of having that, Coach Ajla, I do have a player that turned coach, and this is the difficulty I'm finding, because I think your point is excellent. It's valid, but at the same time, I'm finding that when I reach out to females, when they say, yeah, this is what I want to do, when I say, okay, I'm here for you, let's get started, and all of a sudden it's like, you know what? I go, I'm not going to lie. This is a big commitment. Are you ready for this commitment? Right? And I think they think that it's easy, that you just walk in and you're kind of babysitting kids. It's a lot more than that. It takes a certain type of person to be a coach in any sport, right? And nurturing that and hanging on to that, but actually having the ability to recognize, you know what? I don't think this is for you, but it was worth a try.
Yeah.
Does that
I
make
think,
sense?
yeah, I think it also comes down to the lack of confidence that you guys were mentioning. It's hard if you're. I would assume if you're female and you're being approached to go in an industry or an environment where it's really heavily, occupied by males, to go and try to take all that pressure, take all that everything that's coming at you to survive in that environment. I think headhunting and seeing that potential, all that can be done, and it's not being done enough, 100%. But I think there's more to it. I think there has to be eh, a lot
There
of
has
things
to be
need to be
communication as well.
not just that. A lot of things need to happen to retain, to keep those people that
Yeah.
are deciding to step into that field.
And retention is a whole other
Yes.
like retention is like a whole other convo.
Yeah.
Um, and there's so many, like we could sit here all day talking about retention.
Yeah.
Talk to me.
Well, so the other thing, the thing I keep thinking about is the Ontario Soccer Summit just happened.
Hmm.
And one of the best keynote speakers I listened to, and her name escapes me, but she was
Ex-director of Canada Tennis.
yes,
Okay.
I cannot remember her name for the life of me.
Murovets.
You know what? I can
Elizabeth
picture her
Murovets.
too.
You can picture her, okay?
Yes. Yes, I can
She-
picture her.
So, anyways, I thought she was phenomenal. The reason I thought she was so phenomenal, one, she good speaker, a lot to say, a lot of experience, all that. But
Very good speaker.
she was given the opportunity. She was seeked out. Is that a word? She was seeked out.
It is now.
It is now to come and present on Ontario Soccer. For me, as a female in sports, I was inspired by that.
Yeah.
We need more of that. We need more representation in media, in those big conferences, in summits, in any of those locations to give us the confidence to pursue more, right? Then I was really frustrated when I got to the female only presentation, and it was the same time as, and this was frustrating, it was the same time as that really big presentation from that gentleman I don't even know where he was from. Clearly, I wasn't paying attention. But
I remember that.
Overflow room. It was overflow room. It was packed. Our room had several empty seats. Why put them at the same time?
Yeah.
Like, you're now making people choose. I know there was people in that other huge room that wanted to be in the female summit space. I know they wanted to be, and that's not them. You're forcing them to choose. Don't force me to choose. Don't
Make
force
it
me to choose
accessible.
make it accessible between like a really, and I think he was great. He was talking all about like a whole technical hoopla of really great things. I'm an active coach. I'm sorry, I don't know anything, but he had a lot. He had a lot of good information, which was beneficial for anyone. But so did the female. So did that little female conference that we had. It was crucial information. And I was frustrated that I had to be the one, and all the other females in the room, might I add, had to be the ones to translate that information. Don't make, it's little stuff. It's little stuff, but it matters,
I just wanted to add, I agree. And it's actually part of my own philosophy to set objectives and always stick to them. So it's very linked to Ontario Soccer Summit, for example. They did a lot of great stuff. But for example, if they had this objective that you mentioned to bring female representation, they would probably stick to it. Probably they just didn't have it.
For
And
sure.
If they paid attention to that, if they recognize that's a problem, then of course this conflict in session, they shouldn't happen. And it's not the only example that you give. There are many more examples, like conflicting and people wanted to be in both, and both were not only important for technical people, but also on such a problem like female representation. So
I know Ontario Soccer had a really good female coaches mentorship program. I guess I'll lead into that one, Shaheen.
Yes, I wanted you to. Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, my experience with that, I was doing that for 4 years, and I thought it was phenomenal. I thought it was great in terms of networking, and just bringing out female coaches in a safe, open environment taught by other female coaches. I know Connie Marshall was doing it, and she was very helpful, very available to the coaches, gave a lot of her own time. And to see that passion up there, honestly, inspired me as well. It really inspired me to see somebody up there giving back a little bit more to make sure that the females are going through the system and they're being taken care of. Unfortunately, I think the program has now stopped funding. I'm not sure if it's because of COVID or there were some staff changes as well. But I honestly can say that it was heading in the right direction. And I learned so much from it. I got to meet some phenomenal coaches as well from outside the GTA as far as Ottawa. And just to hear their experiences and what they've gone through was excellent. And maybe that's something that we can start implementing at a club level. Maybe we can have our own club female mentorship program where we do the same thing and meet once a month, but make it fun. I mean, it's all about fun, right? We want to make it fun, but also present, females and say, hey, this is a safe and open environment. Whatever happens and says here stays with us, and it could be a great outlet as well. We could talk about our experiences with, a parent, a coach, a male counterpart or whatever. But I thought it was very helpful, and it's sad to see that it hasn't continued, but hopefully maybe we can implement that and get that going. It's something I'd like to see done.
Yeah, I'm glad you're bringing that up again, Liz. My next question was going to be, what are some things that we can do to bring in more female players or coaches in our club level? And I'm glad you're bringing that up. But is there other things?
I beat you to it, Shaheen. I beat you to it.
Yeah, but is there other things that you think, any of you think that we can do, like just ourselves individually or as a community, that to bring in more, to keep our female athletes, to bring in more female coaches to our staff, to try to keep them, to try to create that positive and confident environment for them?
I would, something that I would say is very linked to Ajla. I know that she's recruiting a lot of young players who kind of graduate from programs, development and competitive programs with THPFC. And that's great. That would be also great if it was a structured program so that these kids, not kids anymore, girls who graduate from programs, competitive programs at High Park, have a chance to be, as Liz said, slowly and gradually, but confidently introduced to coaching. Because again, it can be done super easily, right? These players, they're already on the field. Why not to start involving them? Not only shadowing, again, I might be a little negative here, but shadowing is great for once. Like, they need to start being involved. Once to see how practice is structured, great, but after it, they need to be involved. And I think all coaches need help. I always say, bring me more, I want help, right? We work all with kids, and the more attention they get, the better. So if we had this all rolled out program, how can we bring players who graduate from our competitive, maybe recreational programs, if there is interest, to our coaching? That would be great.
I have two things. One, make it a priority. As a club, make it a priority. It should not be a side project. It's not a side job. It's a priority. Very, very simple. It's a choice. Make it a priority or don't. Two, and this is going to sound harsh, and I'm sorry, gentlemen. I'm sorry. Don't have boys coach girls. Don't have males coaching females in sport. Like, coaches, male coaches have a lot to offer. You want to retain female coaches, have female coaches mentoring female coaches. And we don't have to do it within the club. Like, I don't know why. Let's use other resources. There are several wonderful coaches across Ontario. They're part of other clubs, and that's okay. Use your resources. Get other female coaches who are wonderful, well represented, and really great coaches coming to mentor us, one another, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not saying there's not a time and a place for like males and females to mentor one another. But what I'm saying is if you want to retain, if your goal is retention, and if your goal is to make female coaches confident, feel better about themselves, and feel safe, get a female in there doing what needs to be done. Because at the end of the day, all those female-only coach workshops, they work. They're full all the time. Female mentorship programs, they work. All female summits, all female conferences, it works. And there's a reason it works. So for me, it needs to be a priority. And it's doable. So we're in a tough spot right now. Don't get me wrong. Can't say we can start tomorrow, but that being said, it's doable. So I just think we got to make it top priority, you know?
I think we're definitely in the right direction regarding that. I know one of the challenges now is the fact that there's just not enough females to field enough teams, right? So unfortunately, males do have to step into that role. When that happens, I think we just need to educate more males as well. I know some coaches, they don't have kids or they don't have a mother figure in their life. So those are the ones I find have a little more difficulty understanding the female game as well. I mean, it is different. I'm not saying it's weaker. I'm just saying it is different. So that's a tricky one, but you're right. We definitely need to, upper numbers in terms of female coaches. And I know there are some great leaders out there, and players as well. I mean, not just externally, but we can also grab players and start them as early as 13 and 14 and saying, hey, you know what, this is a great experience for you. And not saying that it's going to be their full-time career. They could do it for a couple of years, but the experience is just invaluable, for whatever career path they end up choosing later on in life as well.
Yeah, I'm personally a very big fan of reaching out to our young players that are 14, 15, 16, 17, male or female, and getting them into coaching, getting them into leadership positions, because I feel like they have just lived that life. They know what it's all about. They know what's lacking. They know what it feels like to be a player. So to get them to start coaching, to start shadowing and then taking leadership positions, I think it's really important. And definitely in the female programs, I think it will definitely help to increase the number of females in the
think
sport.
a good strategy, something that I've learned over the last couple months as well, is we're always saying this is what we need to do. How do we do it? For me, I like to almost plant a seed. I call it planting a seed. So if I'm coaching a certain player and I see that they're doing something outstanding that was, I didn't ask for or anything, something that brings out leadership. As soon as I see that, I will take that player aside and I'll even have a chat with the parent and say, hey, you know what? Your player is showing really good leadership qualities. And I think when you start planting seeds like that, and just using that as an example, it instills confidence. Like, it's amazing. Because again, referring back to my experiences, when I was younger, if I just had that little voice to say, Liz, you're a great leader, or your commitment, or just little things like that, I think it would have gone a long way, a lot sooner as well. And I think we don't do enough of that as well. We don't go up to players and say, hey, you know what, that was fantastic. That's a leadership role. You're resilient, and just feed them empowering words and supporting them and tapping them on the back and saying, keep it up.
Well, what's so funny about all of that is, I mean, Shaheen, you said like we got to attract our younger players, 14, 15. In Active Start, I recruit all kinds of coaches because the number one role of an Active Start coach is not to love soccer, is to love kids. If anyone has ever tried to do a soccer program with a 3-year-old, I can confidently tell you that soccer is not the number one priority, and that there's some other things that
it's
are more important.
It's a great place to start. If you're going to get into coaching, I definitely would recommend
Well, it
active
is.
starts.
So it is. And what's so funny is it is not hard for me to get female coaches. In fact, I have a hard time getting the boys. It is a struggle
Yeah.
for me to find male coaches. So I'm wondering, we've been talking about this, I'm wondering if it's actually a problem of when we are trying to attract female coaches. Boys seem to come in their 20s, and that appears to be the time where they're applying for jobs. So what we're doing is writing a job application and like sending out all these notifications, and that makes sense for in your 20s, because in your 20s that's what you're trying to do, is you're trying to apply for jobs. But I don't have a problem finding females in their teens. So is it that what Ekaterina, kind of going all the way back to her point of creating a program, is it that we actually need to create a program that brings females up, brings them up from their teens into their 20s and retains them for that portion of time, so that by the time they're in their 20s, really ready to like actually get super involved into coaching and make it kind of a whole full-time side gig, they're already in love and they already want to stay.
Yeah.
Because as I said, like the amount of female coaches I have that are between the ages of 16 and 19, I have too many. I gotta like, ship them out. But
Yeah.
they're
So
not staying.
So Ajla, I have a question for you then.
Yeah.
So what do you think is a good age gap for a young female coach to get into active start?
16.
For example, like, would you say a 10-year-old or 11-year-old?
No, those, no, you know what? No, 10 and 11-year-olds are actually great at being little buddies. 10 and 11-year-olds, it's like they get this a little bit of empathy, especially the girls. Not all girls, but some girls, really, especially some girls, get a bit like empathetic, and they love the hand holding and the kicking and all that. That's how it starts, I find, in my experience. That's what I've seen. And even through 12, 13, and 14, they just love having a buddy. I don't know if I've met too many middle schoolers who don't say, gosh darn, that kindergartner's cute, because they are. And the cuteness factor wins. So
yeah,
that's a great time to sort of get them involved and kind of do cross programming, and kind of get the community all together. But I think the prime age of actually getting them hooked on coaching is that 16, 17, 18. It hooks them mostly, I think, because they find that they can embody in themselves, and then I don't have words, but
do you think they'd have an opportunity to grow with that program? So let's say a 16-year-old gets into active start coaching, with a 6-year-old. So the next year they're 17, and now the player is a year older. Can they stay with that team and see that? Do you think that's a difference, making that difference and having that mentor for the next 2 or 3 years?
I mean, if it was doable, I think that would be wonderful.
Ideal?
I mean, ideally for me, you're staying in a program for a couple of years, and then you're moving through when you're a bit older, kind of after high school. But I think that the pathway is going to be different for every kid. I think that we just have to have a pathway available. And I think that right now we don't have a pathway available. Like it's too ambiguous,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we need to do better at making them continuing to fall in love with the sport. I think that often if you don't go play for university, if you don't get scouted, it's like you're done with the sport.
Yeah.
And I think we do that a lot. Males and females both. Like we do that on both sides. It's like grade 12's done. You didn't go to university to play, and it's like,
now what?
Done. So I think that we just need to create a better pathway for them.
It definitely needs to be a lifelong passion, and not just, I just want to make university or a scholarship.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot more to soccer than just being, winning all the time and being competitive. There's so much to offer. But you're right. I mean, when you say falling in love with the game, that's definitely something you need present.
Well, I think Canada, part of Canada Soccer's or Ontario Soccer's Soccer for Life program aims to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's perfect, but I think there's also a lot of good things that are being done. But I do agree that on the female side, there's obviously more work that needs to be done because it's more of a challenge. and it's you guys are bringing up a lot of good points. Ekaterina, do you have any?
Yeah. I have 2 points. Yeah, the first one I wanted to say is that we touched base a little bit retaining, and I wanted to say that, like, for many people, they might think that they're interested in something, they try, but if they don't feel like there is a lot of value, they just drop it and they quit. And that's what I wanted to add to Liz and Isla's points about that. It's important to get these females when they're young, but it's also important for the club to offer them what they need. And I would say, from my experience in coaching, it's not only about soccer, it's management, it's being a leader, it's being able to be just a role model. It's actually maintaining a healthy way of life, same time, because you want to be this role model. And it also pushes them probably in the future to keep playing sport. Why? Because in a majority of cases, when you start working with development and competitive, you want to demonstrate, right? It's important for players to see their coach and female coach to be able to show. For many, I wouldn't say for all, but for some, and I've heard it a lot, it's important to see their coach just demonstrating them activities. So for female coaches who just stopped playing, they graduated from competitive and they're like, whatever, I got in university in some, imagine, business program, and forget about sport, I'm just going to coach on the side. Then this actually can bring them back this love to play and to start playing again, and probably recreationally, but again, as long as they're staying active, that's what is important for community. And the second point that I wanted to mention is that it's great that that all of us here, we are from different stages with in terms of player development. So Isla works with Active Start Kids. I work mostly with Learn to Train, and Liz mostly works with competitive kids. So we see female players from like all stages all the way up. And what I wanted to say is that that's a part of my personal coaching philosophy, just helping them to be good leaders from the very childhood. I work with them, like, believe me or not, every single practice, they don't notice, but I help them to become better leaders, so that later on, Liz can notice this talent just accidentally. And then after that, hopefully on a club's level, these girls can be recruited.
I'm not reinventing the wheel when they come to my age, right? So they've already had those good habits in place, and I think that's important. I think you girls do an awesome job with that.
I agree. I have a question now, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to get an answer from all of you. So until we have enough coaches to coach our female athletes, we are going to have male coaches. What is some advice that you can give to the male coaches dealing with female players?
Girls are not boys.
Yeah.
Don't treat them like boys. There's a thing, and it's a good time to talk about it. Equality is not equity. Not the same thing. Girls, like, this is true. I've never seen it not be true. Girls love to talk. Girls love their team. Embrace that and encourage it.
Yeah.
I don't know. My biggest advice, a girl like Ekaterina and Liz, you can keep going, but my biggest advice is boys are not girls and girls are not boys. Don't treat them the same.
Appreciate the differences and let it. Yeah.
I would say for sure, be patient, and allow them to be girls, allow them to be creative and expressive, and just be mindful of what you say and how you say it. My experience with the ages that I've had now, I mean, I've done all ages from 5 up until adult, but I find around 12, 13, and 14, these girls are starting to feel things that they've never felt before. Emotions in the game, for example, anger. It's not really anger. There's passion hidden underneath that anger, and unless you've been through it as a female. And I mean that in being relatable, is hard to explain, right? So, my advice would just be, be patient and be understanding and listen. I think that's a big one as well.
Yeah. I wanted to add, I guess, some principles here for all coaches, doesn't matter, female coach, male coach. It's important to adhere to some principles. And there are just three things that girls value a lot in sport. And the first one is positive coaching. Second one is opportunity to be challenged and opportunity to develop. And the third one is positive environment. So I wanted to probably put some emphasis on the third one. And Liz already mentioned it a little bit. The thing is that for girls, it's very important to be accepted. And that's what I guess all of us, we need to focus when we start working with girls. Like for the majority of them, it will be very important how they feel inside this small environment, their team, and then everything else will go after it. So as long as they feel comfortable, as long as they feel that there are friends around, and as long as they feel that they challenge, they're interested, then they are going to develop their skills, their soccer related skills. And I wanted to say as a good advice for male coaches, make sure that you start from yourself. When you try to create this trust environment, be open with them. That's what matters. You don't want kids to, you don't want to just every single day say to them, be open, be honest. It doesn't work. You need to show this example. You need to be open about your feelings. And Liz said about it as well, anger. Very, very important things. It's important to explain to girls that that's okay to have different feelings. It's totally fine. That's actually healthy, because we don't want kids to grow up, become adults, face their first challenge and become completely freaked out because they never dealt with this before and they were always kind of protected from it.
Yeah.
It's fine to have different feelings, and happiness is great, but upset is fine too. Frustration is good. Anger is good.
I had an experience with a male coach, head coach of a female team. We were in training, and one of the players was, again, fooling around, and I could see that player was kind of setting other players off. So I went to the coach. I said, listen, you need to have a chat with this player because they're disrupting everybody else, and they need to be told, like, settle down. This is what the male coach said to me. That's not my job. I am not going to say anything because I don't want to upset them. And I said, hang on a second. I go, just because you're a male doesn't mean you still can't go in and correct and discipline in a sense. You know what? You need to pay attention, and this is why. So I thought that coach was kind of more of hands off. This is not my job because you're here. And I was kind of bothered by that because, again, I said, so what are you teaching her or this player? Are you teaching this player that it's okay to fool around and not pay attention and disrupt everybody? I asked him, I said, listen, I go, if this was your boys' team, how would you treat that? Oh, for sure. I would have told them right away, sit down, go settle down. I go, so what's the difference? I go, we're not fragile. We sometimes players need to be told whether they're male or female. But if it's a female, yeah, you know what? She might be upset. She might sulk about it. But guess what? That's part of life, because later down the road, when she gets rejected or that player gets rejected in a job interview or something doesn't go her way, was she given an opportunity to deal with that adversity?
Yeah.
And say, hey, you know what? It's okay. And I find that's a big problem right now, just in our culture with coaches and males, because now it's a female. I'm not going to say anything. It's not my job. No, step in.
Yeah, I think
that-
from a coach's perspective, and this is unfortunately very disappointing to say, and I wish I couldn't say it. I wouldn't have to say it, but I think, sometimes male coaches think female coaches aren't strong enough to hear that, or they're weaker. It's nonsense, and it's probably the other way around. They're probably more stronger, but I think it's just this idea that sometimes male coaches can have, and it's important for us males to know that.
The messaging is getting lost because as I said, girls aren't boys, boys aren't girls. But that doesn't mean you don't discipline, or you don't talk, or you don't use like a firm voice. Listen, boys, if you don't know what to do, watch a girl. Male coaches. If you don't know how to coach females, watch a female coach coach females. I don't see that happening. I don't see often that there is a bunch of male coaches watching a female coach females to learn how to coach female players.
Yeah. Female coaches mentoring male coaches.
Right. And just, yeah, on that, like if you want to get specific on like how to coach genders or sexes, whatever you want to say it, then take a page out of the female coach that's over there coaching females.
Yeah.
There's more to coaching than technical work. There's more to coaching than understanding how to play out from the back third.
Especially at a young level, right? Youth level.
At any level, because let's be real. A lot of our players aren't going pro. They're not going to university even. They're not doing anything.
There's some very interesting statistics on that.
Well, I think, again, we're just trying to get them in, keep them in the sport and love the sport. If it happens to be scholarships or university, then yeah, for sure, we're 100%. But I think it needs to be more. It needs to be, I think the female players need to be pushed. They need to be pushed by other females as well. And I think the female coaches need to be pushed as well, because if a female player sees a female coach and sees that she's strong and she can kick the ball and is assertive and is a leader, that's going to be a great role model. It's a great standing point. And again, they'll see that and say, you know what, again, if she can do it, I can do it.
Yeah. Last question before we wrap it up. I want each one of you to give me attributes, good attributes of a soccer coach or a coach in general. What are some attributes that coaches should have?
The ability to adapt. I think that's a big one. The ability to adapt. And if something goes wrong, I honestly, and I've done this before where something did not go right, and I just said, you know what, players, I'm sorry, I failed you. This didn't work. Let's try something else. And I think that goes a long way.
And I would also, I love this one, I agree. And it's not only linked to like that problems, but also to like soccer evolves, it changes. And it's so important for coaches to just not be narrow-minded, right? And again, it's being adaptable. There is something new, some new standard being released. Try it on. What if it works, right? Instead of just working in your small box and not believing in anything except what you used to. So I agree with you.
My number one is confidence.
Yes.
Confidence is key. Coaching any coach, but especially in a female coach, confidence is easily spread. So a confident coach, a confident female coach is going to go a really long way, in my opinion.
Yeah. I also want to add fun. You got to have fun and you got to be silly. I think if players see that you're having fun and you're silly to a certain degree, I mean, there's always a point to be serious. But I think if you can poke fun at yourself sometimes, I think that really opens the door for female players to be a little more comfortable and be themselves, be who you are.
Yeah.
That's a great point, Liz. I think sometimes we forget the reason why we started from that very young age was because we loved the game and we were having fun playing the game. So it is a game, it's supposed to be fun. So let's keep it fun. No matter if you're a player, a teammate, a coach, a parent, let the players have fun for sure. All right. Well, thank you very much. Lots of good information, lots of great knowledge from every single one of you.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of male and female coaches, players listening to this, hopefully. I'm sure everybody's going to take something from it. If you have anything to say, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Shaheen, for organizing this and coaches as well for being here. I think this is wonderful. And I think we should do this a little more often because there's so much to talk about. I think there was a couple of topics that we didn't hit on. And we can definitely hit those topics and make a lot of good information out there for everybody.
So that's it for today. If you enjoyed the show, please give us a thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And we will see you next time. Take care.